Late 1990s, Ukraine is going through tough times. The constitution was adopted only recently. The country's economy is in stagnation. Stephen Pfeiffer was the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine from 1998 to 2000.
At the time, President Kuchma talked about a multi-vector policy, which looked at engaging with the United States, with Europe, and also with Russia. And remember, in the 1990s, it was a very different Russia. You did not have Vladimir Putin as president. You had Boris Yeltsin. Mr. Yeltsin had many flaws, but he was consistent, for example, in supporting and recognizing Ukraine's territorial integrity, its sovereignty, and its independence.
Pfeiffer believes it was back in the 1990s that the Ukrainian people recognized the importance of having their own voice, something that would be seen vividly later during the Orange Revolution and the 2014 Dignity Revolution. President Bill Clinton, for one, visited Kyiv 3 times, in 1994, 1995, and 2000. However, in the early 2000s, the situation changed, recalls former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine John Herbst, who arrived in Kyiv in 2003.
U.S.-Ukraine relations were, generally speaking, positive and warm from independence until the late 90s, when concerns about corruption in Ukraine began to cloud the relationship.
During the Orange Revolution of 2004, the Ukrainian people protested presidential elections that international observers reported were rigged in favor of the then-incumbent Prime Minister Viktor Yanukovych.
My job from that point forward was to prevent a crackdown on the demonstrators in the streets and to help ensure that Yanukovych would not be declared president on the basis of a falsified or stolen election. And we know that a serious effort was made to arrange a crackdown on the demonstrators. Most of the government at that time, which again was the government of which Yanukovych was part, behaved with honor and in the right way.
After the Orange Revolution, the West was impressed with the level of democracy and peace seen in Ukraine, says former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine William Taylor.
I arrived as President Yushchenko and Prime Minister Tymoshenko were trying to work together. It was a challenge for both of them. It was an interesting time.
The 3 former U.S. ambassadors to Ukraine agree the country should be proud of how far it's come.
I remember making the comment when I was leaving Ukraine back in 2000, which is, I think, 30 years from now, maybe that's a little bit optimistic, but 30 to 35 years now, I think Ukraine will be a successful story.
You had a vibrant people, very hospitable, fun-loving. And I was working in Kyiv, a beautiful city then and now. You had a government which was perhaps more authoritarian than democratic at the time. I would say now it's more democratic than authoritarian, but still elements of both then and now. You had an active civil society then and now, although civil society is obviously stronger today.
They had really pulled together, and there was this strong Ukrainian feeling that you could feel. So that was one of the highlights.
As Ukraine continues to consolidate its independence, the country's role in international affairs is projected to grow. For Maria Prus in Washington, Anna Rice, VOA News.